Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to Prime Hour on My Media Prime. On the program today, we are going to be answering the question as to who is spoiling Africa. Is it the West or Africans themselves? We also are going to be finding out whether it's possible to appease Cameroonians living in the diaspora who are angry, very angry with the way things are unfolding back home. Why are they even angry? We are going to be discussing that in the program here with our panelists and possibly with a diaspora contribution to give us a perspective of how they feel out there and how they could be appeased, and if at all it is possible. We are going to be discussing this with our panelists who are already in the house. I'll start with a consultant, Apostle Lambi Valentine Ngwa, who is seated already. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, my co-panelists. Good evening, viewers of Prime Hour. Good evening, Cameroonians. We are here again today to educate the masses, and by the grace of God, God will inspire us to give you the right information. God bless you all.
Okay, Robert Kedia Malanfe, representing the CPDM party, is in the house with us. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening to you. Good evening to my co-panelists. I would like to take this opportunity to greet the head of state and the member of his government. I just want to also take this opportunity to tell all Cameroonians that coronavirus is real. People are dying. Please, we should respect the rules and be safe. I appreciate the work of Honorable Jingu Musa that had to send face masks to the constituency, the people of Bamali and Bamisin, so that they can actually stay safe. So I call on all Cameroonians to actually stay safe and respect the rules because coronavirus is real.
Okay, we are also in the company of Professor Mark Anthony. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Leo. Good evening to my fellow panelists, and I want to particularly greet my younger brother who is presently watching at me in Bamenda, Gaabom Hosia, who is a fan of Prime R, and the wife. And I also want to say hello to my wife and kids that are watching at me right now. And to you, million viewers of this beautiful and wonderful TV, we say stay connected.
And also with us is Dr. Michael Dimancho. Good evening and welcome.
Thanks so much, Mr. Leo. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to particularly say good evening to the people of Bamenda who have been cut off from the country of Cameroon.
No, the road has been reestablished there.
Well, it has been established, but it was cut off, and that's the road that we have been crying for so long. And I'm still decrying this lackadaisical attitude of the government of Cameroon that is always on the defensive. They don't want to be on the offensive to do things the right way. And we are saying the people of Cameroon, Bamenda, to stay calm and keep praying for their God. Maybe nature is working. One doesn't know. Good evening to Cameroonians.
Okay.
Republican.
Please, can we also welcome Abong Nico, who is going to be participating all the way from Finland. He will be giving us the diaspora perspective. Good evening and welcome on Prime Hour.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Cook. Thank you very much for the invitation, and warm greetings to the members of the panel. I think this is a very important topic, especially given the characterization of the individuals involved and the diaspora, which is a term that I highly reject, as I will explain. So thank you very much. And I'm sorry, I can't hear you quite well. I'll try to fix the problem. Get back to you. Thank you.
Okay. I'll start with you, Apostle Lambi Valentine Ngwa. What is the problem with Cameroon's diaspora? Seemingly, they are not too happy with the country. Can you sense that something is not right between Cameroon's diaspora and the government back home?
Obviously, patriotism is the word.
Mm-hmm.
A patriot is not an individual who lives in a country. It's one that carries the country at heart.
Mm-hmm.
That is, you are pregnant with your country. If you are in Germany, you're Cameroonian, you've changed by location, you've not changed country. And if they are there, actually, no Cameroonian who has his five senses operating very well will sit back wherever you are in the world, whether in India, America, Japan, France, and you listen to what is happening back home and you become comfortable. because some people believe that because they are not actually on ground going through what is going on right now, they have no right to feel what is going on. But if you have the burden of your nation at heart, you are pregnant with the well-being of your nation. No matter where you are in the world, tears will always roll off your eyes immediately you see the things happening back home. That is, to me, the first reason why they are angry, because they are patriots. They love their country and they are not comfortable with what is happening. And number two, nobody will be comfortable with bad governance. Anywhere you are in the world, even sometimes we sit here as Cameroonians, we are not Ivorians, we are not Burkinabes, we are not Sierra Leoneans, but we see what is happening there, we blame the leader, because there is a burden for the continent Africa. First, the burden for your nation. Second, the burden for the continent. So Cameroonians at the diaspora are supposed to be angry because there is political instability in Cameroon. There is high level of unemployment in Cameroon. There's a lot of challenges going through in the country that has even caused some of them not to be able to come back home again, because home is home. And I think the inability for some of them not to come back home to their fatherland is one of their worries also. Then measures should be put in place that will guarantee they are safe coming back home. And the part of the constitution that says we are not supposed to have dual nationality, a lot of them also are feeling so bad because circumstances had to push them to take other nationality, but they are unable to come back to their own country as their own country. A Cameroonian that's taking a Finnish nationality will need a visa to come back here as a stranger. All those things put together, I think it's good enough to drive anyone out of the country crazy.
I don't know whether Nico is there. Nico, are you there? If you can get me what is particularly not right that we see many diasporan Cameroonians are not too happy with the government back home?
The issue of moving out of the country for because we now look at Cameroonians who move out as kind of running away from something. Cameroonians are not running away from the country. It is a natural thing that people move out of their countries. I mean, the Chinese do it, Americans move out, things for different purposes. Most of us move out because of for study, for better opportunity. It is not a move that is designed as you're angry with your country or you don't like your country. It is more of a desire to better yourself so that you can be more productive in your country. And that is where we should start this discussion, because it defines how the government should treat those that it considers as the diaspora. Because if you consider them as angry people, then you have a different way of handling them. But if you consider them as people who have gone out to develop themselves so that they come back to develop the country, then you have a different way of dealing with them. Thank you.
That by the time most of you left the country, you were very satisfied, you were happy, and developed this attitude that you are saying now out there. Did you people leave the country as happy, patriotic Cameroonians?
All of us are patriotic, first of all. But we move out for different reasons. So some of the people who move out of the country because they're not happy with the country, they're not moving out because they're not patriots. They are patriots, but they are looking at a system that does not support them, a system that does not encourage development, and it encourages participation, and they move out. So it's not because they're not patriots. Yes. For my instance, why I move out simply because of education. I'm not happy with the system. I was working in Cameroon, and the situation wasn't good. I thought I could do more for the country, but I didn't have opportunity because we don't have this inclusiveness in the development of the country. And so we tend to move out. And yes, there are a lot of people who are angry with the system. There are a lot of people, I am one of them, very angry with the system because it doesn't allow for inclusiveness. It doesn't allow for us to be able to come back and do the things that we need to do to foster the development of the country. So that's why we are dissatisfied, not angry, not kind of rebels or against the country, unpatriotic. It's simply because we need a system in place that fosters development, that it fosters this inclusiveness, that you know that you can come back to the country and be part of the development of the country without feeling like you're competing.
Okay.
Without people feeling like you're threatening their positions of the rest. So yes, if I would say I'm a patriot, but I'm dissatisfied patriot, and that is one of the reasons why I'm out, and that is one of the reasons why it's difficult for me to come back and be part of the system, of developing the country. But I cannot, I hope that the government will recognize the importance of the diaspora in the development of the country. Every single country that has developed because it has a very, very strong diaspora that is willing and able and is given opportunity to contribute to the development of the country.
Okay, thank you. We'll get back to you, Robert Malamfe. You heard there from a member of the diaspora. He lives in Finland. He thinks that opportunities are not given enough for everybody to be able to represent themselves or their communities to the extent that they would have loved to in Cameroon.
We'll talk about the diaspora that are in different categories, because we have some of them that the state of Cameroon send them out for scholarship. All government universities in Cameroon, they send more than 500 students being sponsored by the government, and partnership colleges and university that they work with, that they send them to the diaspora to study. They are obliged to study and come back, and when most of them they come back, they are directly integrated because the government send them for a purpose to study and bring back this brain. We saw how China did it, send some of them to the USA, they studied technology, they brought it back, and they had to develop their country. So we have those category of the diaspora that we are seeking that they should return and build their nation. They should not look at the way it is, because if China was actually looking at the way China was, if the Chinese were actually looking at the way China was, they will not study the technology and go back to develop their country. So we are calling on them. We also have a category of diasporans that are there. They are okay with the system. They have come back, they have invested. We see them all over. Those that come construct hotels, those that create companies, we see them all over. They are patriotic, yes. They know no matter the problem that we face, but they are coming back to build their nation. We have now this group that they are out there to grumble and make the entire nation or everyone to believe that the diaspora is totally unsatisfied with the way the system is going. This has to do with those that committed crimes against the state, those that committed crimes against individuals that are there in the diaspora now, and they are asking for clemency to come back or whatsoever they are asking. We have this category of people that are in the diaspora, which we all know, and we all said the last time the chairman of the SDF was talking about some of them that thanks to him they got their asylum. So we also have that category of people that are in the diaspora. So when we are talking about those in the diaspora, they're in divergent category, but we still have those that have come in their large majority to invest in the country, which we appreciate.
The point you raised that they are not given opportunities is false. That is the question I asked.
As I earlier said, we have those that have been sent by the state for to do scholarship, which when they come back, they are integrated directly, meaning that there is a category that have the opportunity. We have those also that are individual that when they come, they invest in the economic sector, which we know there is 3 years free tax before everything. They have all those privileged too. So we also have those category of people.
Okay, Professor Mark Anthony, Apostle Ambe Valentine Gwa raised the issue of dual nationality, and Abong Nico raised the issue of exclusion. Is it also in part because of the fact that dual nationality is not accepted in Cameroon? Most of them have acquired new nationalities and will not be given the same privilege or opportunities to assist the government grow at many levels because of their newly acquired status.
Mr. Liu, primarily it is a problem having a nation actually refuse dual nationality.
Okay.
Because irrespective of the fact that I leave Cameroon and I go somewhere and might be naturalized there, does not mean that I'm from there. I naturally should come back to Cameroon, and my country should be willing to receive me in order for me to invest my token into the country for its development. But the Cameroon government has actually made sure that it excludes some of these diasporans who are having a double nationality. And worst of it is that as a Romos, some of the ministers are having double nationality, which is a problem also. If that is true, then it means that we are playing a game which I think is improper, it's not correct. And if you look at it critically, there are some individuals who left Cameroon here, trek through the desert to go out of Cameroon and arrive wheresoever they went. They went with a lot of anger in their hearts. So they believe that the country Cameroon is not a country they should come back into. So some of them, they don't just want to hear about Cameroon where they are. And considering the fact that for a very long period of time, we have been having one individual ruling the nation, some of them feel like the system will never change. Even if they come and invest, their money will in fact will be wasted. And so some they are shocked that you see people who are unable to walk being in leadership, while they as young people willing to come and contribute are unable to be integrated. For example, we have young people. I just heard kids are saying that these people, when the government sends individuals, they go out there, they come back. The question is how many? Do you know that in Cameroon, let us be sincere, out of 11 million something persons that are actually working in Cameroon, the Cameroon government has successfully employed just about 400,000 of them. And if you have 400,000 out of 11 million, question you should be asking is the Cameroon government actually ready to integrate the people who come? So we have a problem with that. And so I want to believe that most of those who are out there are not really happy, but not all, like Kedia mentioned, they are not all of them are angry, because some of them are willing. Just listen to what Abong said there. Abong was clean and he's patriotic. He wants to come and act, but there is no possibility for him based on the system that is in place. And that is the problem, Mr. Liu. We have a serious problem that we have a system here that actually does not want progress, a system that does not want development.
Now, Dr. Ndimachu, what is wrong with dual nationality? Why are we scared of it? What could be the problem with accepting dual nationality in Cameroon?
You know that we have had cases in Cameroon whereby people have used dual nationality to escape from issues of corruption. Mm-hmm. Of course. That is exactly what the government is trying to avoid. That you commit a crime here, and then when you are taken to court, you brandish different nationality, and then you are asking the other country where you, and then they come to your aid, they come to intervene, and we have had cases like this, and they have intervened, and the people are free. So the government of Cameroon has learned a lesson, and the lesson is right. But then, I think that in every rule there is always an exception. Sometimes it's always good to consider the advantages and disadvantages of issues. Yeah, because if the government should really study, during the national dialogue, the Grand National Dialogue, there was a commission on that, to study the advantages and to see how, if they can be able to accept the issue of dual nationality. I don't know. I don't want to go into the issue of the Grand National Dialogue where people went to eat and drink with the gazelles and whatsoever in Yaoundé. But then I think the diasporans, they have a point to be able to revindicate what they are. Why would you want to come back to Cameroon for? People who have lived abroad for 20 years, and then they come back and they see the very thing, roots cut off, crisis here and there, people dying each day. I mean, there is absolutely no change. Rulers, eternalized rulers. I mean, you don't, in that, those who have lived abroad, there is what we call the pride of your country, where people meet. And then, the true slangs are each other. And this one said, my country is developing, my country is this, our country is that. What are Cameroonians proud of when they are abroad? What do they say their country is? What pride do they get from talking about their country? So, I mean, there are a lot of issues that will make Cameroonians be angry about what is happening in Cameroon. Yeah, they are abroad and they see what is happening. A minister will have a little problem on the foot and goes abroad for a surgery. They know exactly that nothing is moving in Cameroon. If not, a minister of health will not leave Cameroon for a foot surgery abroad. So they themselves are angry. They know exactly that they can never come back to Cameroon. They know exactly what is happening because people leave Cameroon and come and tell them stories already. The social media is already here and they see exactly what is happening here in Cameroon. So, I mean, they actually they are angry with what is happening in Cameroon. So the issue of dual nationality, they have been crying for it because they want to proud back. They want to be able to, to nurse what they have worked abroad. Coupled with the administrative bottlenecks that you have when you come back to Cameroon. You want to set a small company, you go to Yaoundé, just the arm twisting that you have. You go back empty-handed with what you work for years abroad. You are not able to set a company in Cameroon because they will twist you. I mean, there are a lot of things that people have to be angry about in Cameroon. And change is a constant thing. When you look at the hem of government, the rulers in Cameroon, there is no change in them. You just think that you are so nostalgic about how you left Cameroon. It is true that many of them have gone in exile. And you ask yourself, why are they on exile? Some people have even gone on self-exile. They have not been sent out of Cameroon because they cannot live to see this. Imagine that there is progress. You live abroad. You see good governance. You see democracy. And you see things progressing. You see things changing. You think back in your own country. You have the same image of what you had years back when you left the country. Why would you not be angry with yourself?
Okay, you do not need to come back because your families take pictures every day. We are living in a global village, so they are following what is happening. Back here, we are also in the company of Jean-Bertrand Mang. He is representing the PCRN party of Cabral Libi. Good evening and welcome.
Merci, bonsoir mon cher, bonsoir à vos millions de téléspectateurs, bonsoir à mes copanélistes. Je dois remarquer que c'est la première fois que je viens dans vos studios et il y a assez de moyens qui sont mis pour que la qualité du service soit optimum. Donc je vous félicite pour cela. Merci. Et pour ça aussi, je dois dire que ce jour était une journée spéciale pour les camarades du PCRN parce que nous avons perdu un camarade, Massol Yvan Landry, qui a rejoint l'au-delà. Nous lui rendons un vibrant hommage et pour cela, j'adresse également des félicitations à nos camarades de la coordination du centre qui ont organisé une grande concertation pour remobiliser les militants de ce côté-là la semaine dernière. Et c'est pour que nous puissions avoir un Cameroun qui protège et qui libère les énergies, ce qui est le credo du Parti camerounais pour la réconciliation nationale que je représente sur votre plateau.
Ok. Oui, votre lecture, si, c'est pas la colère de la diaspora camerounaise envers le pays, est-ce que ça peut s'expliquer?
Oui, en fait, ce qu'il faut dire, c'est que la diaspora camerounaise est l'une des diasporas les plus importantes d'Afrique centrale. Parce que quand on voit les chiffres du magazine Forbes, on se rend compte que chaque année, au moins 278 millions de francs, de dollars sont transférés de la diaspora camerounaise vers le Cameroun. Donc à peu près 120 milliards de francs CFA. C'est énorme. C'est énorme. Ça veut dire que les compatriotes de la diaspora qui sont de l'autre côté ont un souci véritable pour ceux qui sont restés ici au Cameroun, c'est-à-dire leurs familles, leurs amis, ainsi de suite. On peut donc comprendre le désarroi dans lequel ils sont plongés. On peut comprendre parce qu'il y a déjà la question que vous avez évoquée tout à l'heure, la question de la double nationalité, qui jusqu'ici n'a pas trouvé de solution parce que le président de la République a promis aux Camerounais de la diaspora de résoudre cette question-là. Cette question n'a pas encore trouvé de solution. Ils ont l'impression qu'ils sont ignorés, qu'ils sont marginalisés et c'est à juste titre. Et maintenant, il y a une autre chose, c'est que les Camerounais qui sont dans la diaspora, pour certains qui se retrouvent dans des pays développés, dans des pays où des démocraties sont assises, ont vu plusieurs gouvernements s'enchaîner dans une certaine forme d'alternance, mais ils se rendent compte qu'au Cameroun, c'est le même gouvernement qui est là, c'est le même président de la République qui est là depuis pratiquement 38, 39, 40 ans, qui tient le pays des mains de maître ils ont donc comme l'impression qu'il n'y a pas quelque chose qui bouge véritablement au Cameroun. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle certains sont réfractaires à poser un certain nombre d'actes au Cameroun. Et à part cela, il faut aussi dire que il y a une bonne diaspora, il y a également une mauvaise diaspora. Il y a cette diaspora des personnes qui sont, par exemple, des donneurs d'ordre en ce qui concerne la crise qui sévit au Cameroun depuis quelques années, qui encourage certaines personnes à plonger dans ce que je peux appeler l'extrémisme. Il y a cette diaspora-là de certaines personnes qui pensent que il faut avoir des propos injurieux, il faut se comporter comme des talibans. Cette diaspora-là n'est pas une diaspora qui est constructive. Mais pour la diaspora constructive, nous, au Parti camerounais pour la réconciliation nationale, nous avons des propositions importantes pour cette diaspora parce que nous avons par exemple pensé à un guichet unique de création d'entreprises, c'est-à-dire que quand un Camerounais de la diaspora décide de revenir au Cameroun, il faudrait qu'il y ait un seul bureau dans lequel il se rend et que c'est dans ce bureau-là, spécifiquement, qu'il puisse avoir des solutions en ce qui concerne l'implantation d'une entreprise, d'une petite ou moyenne entreprise, quel que soit le secteur d'activité dans lequel cette entreprise voudrait être implantée. À part cela, nous pensons aussi dans le PCRN que il est important que à l'Assemblée nationale, la diaspora camerounaise puisse avoir au moins 5 sièges de députés, parce que ce sont des Camerounais qui sont à l'extérieur et dont les aspirations devraient être également débattues au sein de l'Assemblée nationale. Donc, ils devraient être représentés à l'Assemblée nationale. À part cela, il est important que tout un ministère soit dédié à la diaspora, c'est-à-dire aux questions des Camerounais vivant à l'étranger, parce que ces Camerounais-là, généralement, il y a des ambassades, mais ces ambassades sont considérés pour certains comme juste des bureaux d'état civil, c'est-à-dire que quand un Camerounais de la diaspora vient de mettre au monde un enfant, il va juste là-bas pour enregistrer la naissance de son enfant, mais on ne sent pas que c'est vraiment une institution dans laquelle, je vais chuter par là, une institution dans laquelle on pourrait avoir des résolutions à des problèmes socio-culturels qui touchent la diaspora camerounaise. Et enfin, il faudrait qu'il y ait un contrat de retour pour ces Camerounais de la diaspora, c'est-à-dire quand un Camerounais quitte la diaspora pour venir investir au Cameroun, qu'il y ait un contrat sur lequel il s'appuie, sachant que son investissement n'ira pas en vain.
Okay, I'll go back to you, Apostle Lambi Valentine Hua. Some persons have already indicated that we should talk about this issue of importing. The custom duties are very, very, very high at the ports there. They claim that it is very discouraging to investment and the overall investment climate in the country. Do you think that it is friendly for our brothers and sisters who are living out there in the diaspora?
Yeah, Mr. Leo, that is one of the most important issues I was trying to bring up before you took the mic away from me. First and foremost, I want to correct the fact that when we register companies in Cameroon, we register the company and we are supposed to be given at least 3 years of patent exoneration. But the Cameroon government used to give 2 years. I'm talking as somebody who has opened a company, El Gibo International Business Ventures. And that company was open the period when they were doing exoneration of patent for 2 years. Now it is 1 year. Somebody opens a company and is not working anything, yet they are asking him to go and declare taxes. If I compare it with that of Canada, it's two different things. In Canada, you are given the opportunity to open a company and run until the company reaches a certain capital before they are given the opportunity to clear taxes. Not in Cameroon. Most companies are open in January and they are closed down by December, because every month you have to go to the taxation and declare Nyang. Nyang means you did not work anything. That is something very, very complicated. Coming back to the issue of custom duties in Cameroon, it is exorbitant. Cameroonians will leave here and go and buy cars in Benin and drive all through Nigeria to come to Cameroon because of the custom duties. The custom duty, you buy a car in Germany for 1 million, you come and clear it here for 6 million. That the clearance fee is more expensive than the car itself. That is another serious challenge, that people will go and buy things out of the country to come and do business here. Only the custom duty will cause the person to spend almost half of his capital in clearing the goods. That shows that things are not balanced in the country. So if at all we are telling people that the diasporas are not comfortable, they are not comfortable because of the kind of exorbitant taxes you put here. And then talk less of what you are coming to establish something that can employ at least 1,000 persons in Cameroon. The drama is something totally different. You have to go from one ministry to another, another ministry to another, and each ministry you enter from the secretariat, you have to drop an envelope. Before you will successfully go and see the minister, they will ask you millions. Some people come here and even invest and spend in trying to negotiate to set up a company about 50 million before they even set up the company. And it's so complicated that when they start heaping taxes on you, you won't be even able to contain the level of tax that come up over your life. Look at, for example, in Nigeria, the value added tax, what we call VAT or the TVA in French, is 5%. But in Cameroon, it's 19.25. That's almost 20%. If a man is paying a tax for 100,000 in Nigeria or 5,000, we are paying 20,000 a year. The gap is too much. What do you gain? What's your profit? Then you are paying a tax of that amount. Then you clear a car of a very exorbitant amount. It makes people become very discouraged. People will go to Europe, beat their bodies, load containers, and they come here at the port. Sometimes money to even clear the container is not there. Containers are abandoned at the port there. Properties are abandoned at the port because the individuals who have labored all throughout their life do not even have the amount of money they are asking to clear containers here. How do you explain that an individual goes to Benin to go and buy a car? A car is cleared at 500,000, but that same car is cleared at 2 million. The gap is too much. So it pushes Cameroonians to go and buy cars in Benin and begin to drive far away to come over to Cameroon here, of which in countries like Guinea and other countries like Sierra Leone, cars are very cheap. Very, very cheap. It will be surprising that in Congo Brazzaville, as I'm talking in Pong Noah in Congo Brazzaville, cars come out of the port there cheaper than what comes out of Cameroon here. And we are saying that Cameroon is a giant in Central Africa. Giant in what sense? Giant in exorbitant taxes, exorbitant clearance bills, or what? So I think the diaspora must be angry because even the money they labor there, the worst of it is that if you check Malians, when they labor in any country in Europe, they are the highest people who put money back to their country. Because why? The charges, the cost is very cheap. It's very cheap. Every Maliana goes out of the country, they have this patriotic mentality and they are giving dual nationality. They keep on sending money back to their account. When a Cameroonian goes there and he does not have liquid cash, because you cannot practically make liquid cash in Europe, except you are a 419 or a criminal. So most of them, the little money they have to buy the goods to come here and sell and multiply. The goods cannot even successfully enter here. Sometimes containers are impounded at the port. Cars are impounded at the port. The individual's labor for almost 4 or 5 years in Europe is wasted. So coupled with everything together, they should make the entrance of the port here flexible. They should cut down the exorbitant prices for goods that are entering the country. They should also give opportunity to open up companies and give better tax conditions. They should cut down that TVA of 19.25. What are they getting from there? Even God himself in heaven is calling them 10%. Tithes is 10%. Cameroon government is controlling 20%. Are they bigger than God? If tithes in heaven is 10% and government collect 19.25, 20%, is Cameroon government higher than God? So I think we should be able not to cause people to become discouraged.
Okay. Mr. Nico out there in Finland. Nico, are you also not comfortable with the business climate out here? What would you propose what would you want to be done by the government to encourage you to come back and invest to assist our brothers and sisters?
Have spoken a lot about this issue. I just want to say that one point which was raised, which is very important, is the issue of dual nationality.
Okay.
Which I think that a counter development strategy by the government, because if you look at the case of Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians who live abroad actually have their businesses in Nigeria because it is expensive. Say somebody who lives in London will not establish a business in London because of the taxes, the expenses, which are very high. They will establish that business in Nigeria and then provide services in the UK and across the world. And that is made possible due to the fact that there is this issue of dual nationality, which allows them to operate. Now, the issue of dual nationality, I think it is more of the government trying to keep away certain people that they don't want to come back to the country, because a lot of people, I for one, if I travel out of the country and I start, Cameroonians are complaining, both at home and away. The thing is, those who are out can speak louder because they know they're not open to, they cannot be arrested immediately and taken to. I can speak louder and they don't see me as an angry person. When I speak louder and I'm out of Cameroon, now I get into trouble with the Cameroon government. If I want to renew my passport, they can block me. And if I don't, and you cannot live anywhere without a passport. You must have a passport. If I'm living abroad, I'm forced to take nationality because my own government will not allow me to get the paper documents to live out and operate in my own country. I have to be forced. A lot of this of people taking foreign nationality, most people have been forced into doing that. There are other advantages in the foreign nationality when you live here, but it stops you from being productive in your own country when there's this issue of they're not accepting the issue of dual nationality. Now you ask the question, what can the government do to facilitate or to make me come back to Cameroon? It's all about, we're not asking the government to provide us with funds, we're not asking the government to provide us with land or anything. What a lot of Cameroonians who are in abroad are expecting is for the government to make the field more easy to navigate. Take for example, if I come to Cameroon to establish a business, I am treated even worse than a foreigner, expatriate, comes to Cameroon to set up a business. Because they see me as a Cameroonian, they see me as somebody they can easily exploit. And so they make all these charges and things that make it difficult for us to establish in Cameroon. Secondly, I think that the issue also, which one of the things that a lot of people in the diaspora coming back to establish in Cameroon, actually be part of the development process of doing this. The fact that when you come, you are being looked at, you can be looked at as a petit. You go somewhere, and when you speak, everybody says, "Yeah, you see that one because he's from abroad. He thinks that he knows more than everybody." Meanwhile, you are just trying to be able to bring in the things that you've learned from where you come from. I'm from a society. I live in a society which is highly structured, highly organized. And if I come to work in Cameroon, be it for the government, be it for the private sector, I come with that mentality of being highly organized and looked upon as somebody who's trying to be up there. And this is not only the issue of the government. It comes to the level of individual action with. But to directly answer the question, I think that the government needs to actually engage the diaspora. Look at what is happening in Rwanda. The Rwandans all across the world, they have called Rwanda Day. And the Rwandan president has instructed all the ambassadors to invite Rwandans in that community. And they have a celebration, like a 1 week celebration that has to do with different activities. They talk about health, they talk about education, they talk about, and all of that helps to bring the people to understand what's happening in the country.
Okay,
so they are able to get, yeah.
No, I'll come back to you very shortly. I'm coming back to you now, Robert. The question is, can these guys who are angry? It is true you've raised that they are in different quarters, but you've listened to almost everybody here. The problem is the conducive environment that actually favors their return and investing back home. What can they be appeased, those that are angry? And if they can be appeased, what should be done by the government?
You see, The government of Cameroon, like any other government, is always open-handed to accept any of its citizens, be it the wrong you did before going out. There are still means in which people apply and demand for clemency and have permission if actually they committed crime before they left. So there is a process that they can follow. People should not think that maybe when you go on exile or you do something, you go, no, there are ways you can apply for clemency. They do it in almost all countries in the world. So I think that that is the first step for them to do it. Secondly, I really appreciate the parliament as they are struggling to talk about this issue of dual nationality and the rest of it. I believe that in times to come, something good will come out of it. The main issue is that I appreciate the fact that most of our diasporans, they are patriotic. They are actually patriotic. We may have some few of them that are out there for something else, but they are patriotic. So I believe that in some times to come, the issue of dual nationality will actually be arranged, and a conducive atmosphere will be done. At the level of exportation, we all know that right now we are having just a single Douala seaport, which is actually a river, but we know that Kribi has been constructed and the second phase of Kribi is there, and Limbe will kickstart soon. So I believe that there will be some free access at the level of importation, which we should appreciate the head of state.
Is the issue the number of ports or the issue of the taxes, the custom duties?
As we are talking about custom duties, when these ports are there, the facilities will definitely be there, which it will reduce the duration of clearance at the level of the port. At the level of the taxes, it is the state. If the state have decided to put the amounts of the amount they have put at the level of taxes, is because they know the services they render with regards to the process of importation. So I think the state knows what it's doing. But if people are not happy with it, I still say it. There is a diplomatic way. We have representatives at the parliament, which we voted for them. They are there. We have a channel we can follow. Even when people are not happy, it is normal that people complain about it. But we have a channel to present our problem in a diplomatic way.
Yes, the Cameroon diaspora, how do we appease them? We know that, for example, in Europe, there is a very strong movement that always comes out when a government minister gets there. Can we change things around?
Yes, it is very, very possible to change things around. We begin by solving the problems we have at home, and actually creating a conducive environment where business can flourish. I think Apostle Ambe mentioned a lot of things that are actually some of the reasons why many of these people, diasporans, are angry with Cameroon. Looking at the fact that at times these people, they stress themselves, fly over there, and one of the reasons you should know is leaving the country was because it's not just because they wanted to go and study, it's because the country is not favorable. In fact, there is nothing in it that is convincing somebody to sit. If some of us, we are sitting in Cameroon, is because we need to.
Because you don't have the means?
Not because you don't have the means.
You say there's nothing convincing now?
There are a lot of persons who, if you go right now, just do a kind of survey. Ask 100 youth, do you want to remain in Cameroon? They will tell you Cameroon is hell. They don't want to remain here. They want to go away. That is because of the system in place. That is because for a long period of time, things have not been working for the good of the people. And so a lot of Cameroonians left Cameroon with that state of mind, like, okay, Cameroon is not the best place to succeed in. So I think if I go out there and succeed, and when they go out there, they have the opportunity. They say, okay, now that I've gathered a little bit of money, let me return to my country. Entering to come back, they load things in containers to come here and offload and sell. But when they arrive the seaport here, it becomes another level of problem. Some of them have abandoned their containers in the seaport here. Some of them just gave up. Some of them successfully brought the things out, but to sell them became another issue. Because to them, they thought maybe that would be a means to, okay, if I sell, I can start something that can employ some persons to encourage the government. Because there is no reason why somebody will Yes. When you cannot imagine when they finish all this work, bring this stuff. When the custom haven't cleared out the custom, they come back taxation. The taxation guys, they come, make sure they have to eat their own, and at the end of the day, you end up with nothing. So they cannot.
My question to you, what you are saying are the problems. My question
Yes.
to you is, how do we appease them?
That is why I said, in order to appease these people, there is need for the Cameroon government to restructure this thing, set up systems that are favorable with the people, implying that we must go looking at the custom duty. Let us compare with other nations. Why are we this expensive that others are not? We should bring that down, cut it down. Then, when it comes to taxation in Cameroon, we have to be able to look down at, if we want to encourage businesses to grow, we must cut down taxes. Apostle Ambe mentioned something about the TVA. It is something, when you as a Cameroonian, you want to start a business, you have to pay a TVA on what you are about to sell. You are paying, let's say, close to 20%. What is the gain you are going to make? Prices become exorbitant, and at the end of the day, business becomes something hell. So such economic environment platform needs to be arranged so that people who are coming in from the diaspora can easily create businesses, and that will employ others. And Mr. Liu, to round up on that, if you look at it, some of them are out there not because they want to. They are out there based on the political situation in the country. I think that the Cameroon government needs to deal with the political situation which we are facing, and when that is done, give grants clemency to all of them and receive them back home.
Very briefly, Apostle.
Yes, there is also the issue of capital flight. The amount of money that leaves this country to other countries is terrible. Now, the guys who are even struggling to send money into this country should be respected and given further favorable conditions to come here and invest. The amount of Chinese people don't bank with us. All their monies are transferred. A Chinese man can transfer 200 million to mobile Western Union. You go to Nigeria, you cannot transfer money until you open an account. And if the highest money you can transfer from Nigeria to here is $500, that's 250,000 francs CFA. But you go to banks in Aqua, Chinese people transfer 600 million through Western Union. That's capital flight. A country should encourage the inflow of capital, not the flight of capital. I think that the people at the diaspora, they want bringing money inside. We should treat them with more respect and care. Not that these strangers who come and invest here and they put more money outside.
Now, someone raised the issue of investment, that it is difficult. I'm sure you said you need to get to different ministries to be able to establish, go through the process of establishing a business back here in Cameroon. Do you think that either a Secretary of State in charge of the diaspora or a service be created in Cameroon that facilitates whatever the diaspora would want to do in Cameroon?
Of course, but that will only be when actually it is accepted in Cameroon. The parliament deemed it necessary that the issue of dual nationality be cleared. And if that is cleared, of course, there should be somebody responsible for the diaspora. I think I mentioned here about setting up the business. I talk about administrative bottlenecks. How you want to set just a small business, and I mean it is sometimes suicidal because the money you want to invest in that business, you realize that is the money you spend in Yaoundé from office to office, as I said. So I think the first thing to do is to accept that the issue of dual nationality, that I can be of Cameroonian nationality and I actually have an American nationality, because one of these things, people don't get other nationalities because just for the love of it. You get to a country, you establish there, and you think that perhaps to have your business go favorably, you think you have advantages to get the nationality of that place, and that is what most Cameroonians they do. They get the nationality of that place because they want to actually establish themselves to be able to assist their people back at home. I think it has been working for many of them, and since the Cameroon government keeps on actually hanging on the fact that they don't want to accept that to happen, and there's a reason for it. They understand that those who have gone abroad have gained more knowledge, have had experience, and they coming back home. It is going to be a challenge to octogenarians because they are people who are thinking the same since 1960 when we gained independence and up to now. They don't believe in change, and they feel threatened that those who have gone up there and they have seen how change is will come back and challenge them. I think that one of the things that we should have to accept is that there should be change in Cameroon. Now, look at where actually the diasporans they started revendicating. It is not long ago. I mean, if you look at the history of Cameroon, when we had issues like the anti-Sadina and all those people who have started revendicating abroad, there are things that have actually orchestrated these things, and we all know the reasons why these people are doing these things. Even those who are fearing the Anglophone crisis, most of them are abroad. We know exactly why this is. They want change, meaningful change. I mean, they want a re-democratization of our process in Cameroon. This is what they are asking for. Is it because they have realized that actually the change is not forthcoming, and they feel that they could be able to also assist in bringing up, in building the democracy in Cameroon? Since somebody talks about CPDM militant talk about la démocratie avancée, I don't know what is that all about, because for them, they remain in their mind, they conceive things in their mind, they remain, the things remain in their mind, they think that they have, apply them, and of course, they are illusions. So we have to be able to accept that the issue of change, people can live up there and come here, and imagine that if people were accepted, that you can be of Cameroon nationality and American nationality, and you come and take away post of responsibility here, you'll be fine. I want to give an example of the Ghanaian Vice Minister of Education. This is somebody who had a school in the United States of America. The Ghanaian president visited the United States of America, and then he was presented the school, and they said, this is owned by a Ghanaian. He sought to see that young man. I said, you are from Ghana, and you have this in America? Please, before next year, I want to have you back in Ghana. And the guy is back in Ghana. He's the Vice Minister of Education. He came back, and he has established, and he's giving in his best. So we need to accept this thing, that there should be challenge, meaningful challenge, that we are for the development of the country, and we can get the Cameroonian from wherever at the end of the world to come back to Cameroon to assist in the development of this country. We have gone past the level of just reading and writing, as the white man taught us. Now we are at the level of, technology, active, the development. We need technocrats. We need people who are able to assist us to advance. We don't need people who come and preach, and maybe when it comes to the act, we go abroad to look for things to do. We need people that actually will bring in the necessary energy we need. That we need construction of roads, we need technocrats. That we need medical doctors, we need to have them here. What explains that we have many more medical doctors who are from Cameroon, exercise out of Cameroon more than in Cameroon? Does that make any sense to anybody? And each day we say that in Cameroon there is one doctor to 5,000 patients. Is that normal? It does not make sense to anybody. So I think that we need to be able to put this thing on the table and discuss about, and that the issue of tribalism, because these people are complaining and they are saying exactly what is the problem. Is it the issue of tribalism? We should actually put the country at heart first before we look at our individual tribes, individual families. And I think that the country will advance in that.
Okay, the country is going to advance. Good evening to you, Ako Jeratema. Agu Regel Tembeng. Good evening to you, Stephen Joe. Agu Anita Eno. Good evening to you, Godi Nui Konyi. And to you, Fosak El Gabriel and Ish Kobe. Ikazita, and to you, Makia Valentine. Swila Rupro Sandip Fredo. Enene Alain. Good evening to you. Zakaria Ashum, good evening to you. Adeline Ngelo, and to you Amadu, and to Fondong Richard, good evening to you. Mbu Bate, and to you Mengang Nsope Anise, good evening to you. Cameroon OIC ex trainees, and to you Bawi Francis Ako Gerard Tema, good evening to you. Naira Stephen Asongani, good evening to you. Samuel Tabi, Bruce, and all of you watching on social media, I say special good evening to you. Monsieur Jean, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire pour apaiser ces Camerounais-là qui ne sont pas contents, nos frères et sœurs?
Déjà, avant de répondre directement à cette question, j'aimerais réagir rapidement sur ce qu'a dit le représentant du RDPC sur ce plateau. Quand
Robert,
il dit,
oui.
quand Robert dit que la création des ports, l'augmentation des ports au Cameroun va alléger les droits de douane et ainsi de suite. Non, je pense qu'il fait de la démagogie. Même si on venait à créer 100 ports au Cameroun, cela n'aurait en rien un impact sur le niveau ou alors le coût de la douane. Donc, en fait, pour répondre maintenant à ta question, moi, je veux dire que, comme je l'ai dit d'entrée de jeu, il est important que il y ait déjà cette question de la double nationalité qui soit résolue de manière définitive. Mis à part cette question de la double nationalité, je l'ai dit, il faut qu'il y ait un guichet unique de création d'entreprise pour les Camerounais de la diaspora. Ça veut dire quoi? Quand un Camerounais de la diaspora souhaite venir s'installer au Cameroun ou alors ouvrir une entreprise au Cameroun, il est important qu'il s'adresse à un seul interlocuteur. Parce que le simple fait pour déposer un dossier d'ouverture d'une entreprise, le simple fait de parcourir tous les ministères concernés par rapport à cette affaire décourage déjà l'investisseur qui souhaite s'installer au Cameroun. Donc, cette hyper-centralisation de la bureaucratie fait en sorte que le Cameroun a l'impression, et dans cette bureaucratie, il y a des réseaux de corruption qui s'installent. Ça veut dire que pour qu'on vous rende un service, parce qu'on sait que vous venez de la diaspora, on vous impose telle ou telle autre chose. Non, cette question-là doit être résolue. Il faut un guichet unique pour la création des entreprises. Maintenant, je l'ai dit au Parlement camerounais, il est important que les Camerounais de la diaspora soient représentés. Et il faut au moins, et nous au PCRN, nous l'avons proposé, il faut au moins 5 députés qui peuvent poser les questions, les problèmes des Camerounais de la diaspora au niveau du Parlement, défendre avec véhémence les Camerounais de la diaspora. Parce que ces Camerounais de la diaspora-là, ils ont aussi des problèmes, il faut qu'il y ait des projets de loi qui concernent ces Camerounais qui ne sont pas partis du Cameroun pour certains de gaieté de cœur. Parce qu'il faut le dire, on a l'impression que tous ceux qui ont quitté le Cameroun et qui se retrouvent désormais dans la diaspora, sont partis de ce côté-là parce qu'ils étaient contents. Non, pour la plupart, ce sont des questions économiques qui les ont amenés à se retrouver de ce côté, c'est-à-dire l'absence d'emploi, un chômage caractériel. Il y a également l'absence d'offres de sanitaires, ainsi de suite. Mis à part cela, il faut que les Camerounais commencent à comprendre une chose, c'est que à un moment, quand on a passé des années dans la diaspora, on a envie, on a toujours, et cela peut se ressentir dans toutes les familles camerounaises, chaque fois que vous avez un frère qui est dans la diaspora, chaque fois qu'il se retrouve au Cameroun, il n'a même plus envie de repartir. La seule chose qui l'amène à vouloir repartir, ce sont des questions financières. Parce que, en fait, ils se cherchent beaucoup plus là-bas dans cette diaspora-là, et ça ne veut pas dire qu'ils se sentent à l'aise de ce côté-là. Donc, la question d'un ministère, des questions de la diaspora est importante. Il faudrait qu'il y ait un ministère qui soit... Parce que ça ne sert à rien que les Cam soient en train d'aller demander aux gens de s'inscrire dans la diaspora pour voter, mais que ceux-là ne se sentent pas impliqués dans les questions de gestion du Cameroun. On a donc l'impression qu'ils sont utilisés et qu'ils ne servent véritablement qu'à envoyer leur argent au Cameroun. Puisque vous avez... Dans certaines familles, même vous avez des gars qui sont dans la diaspora et qui vous disent que vraiment, moi, j'ai l'impression que je ne vous sers qu'à vous envoyer de l'argent. Et à part cela, je n'ai plus aucune autre considération. Okay. Donc, et je chute rapidement sur le contrat de retour. Okay. Ce que nous attendons par contrat de retour au niveau du Parti camerounais pour la réconciliation nationale, c'est le fait que quand un Camerounais de la diaspora mobilise ses ressources pour venir au Cameroun, il faudrait qu'il ait un canevas, c'est-à-dire qu'il y ait déjà des débouchés pour que celui-là ne se retrouve pas en perte, qu'il ne regrette pas le fait qu'il soit revenu au Cameroun. Il faudrait que tous ceux qui reviennent au Cameroun, au maximum, qu'ils se sentent plus à l'aise dans leur business, dans leur manière de vivre, dans leur vie de manière sociale, que là où ils étaient au niveau de la diaspora. Et si ces questions-là sont résolues, je pense que les Camerounais qui sont de la diaspora, de la bonne diaspora, ceux-là se sentiront à l'aise au Cameroun.
Okay. Martin from Bamenda says, good evening, Mr. Koum, and all of you in the studio. I am enjoying your program. Thank you too, Martin. Greetings to all the panelists. Cameroon relies about 40% for its revenue, but there is no single in the university in Cameroon that trains petroleum experts. When those who study it abroad come to the country, the applications disappear between the secretariat and the human resource officer. How can we grow? Herman is writing from Douala. Good evening to you, Herman. This one says, good evening, Mr. Kum and the panel. I want to say, Mr. Liu, that if the taxes were even being used for the development of our country, it would have been better. But the taxes they put on Cameroonians end up in the pockets of some government individuals. Okay, good evening to you, Godzi, writing from Bonaberi. Anita Eno says, good evening to you and panelists. There will be an economic miracle in Cameroon with lower taxes and dual nationality. Apostle will react to that. This one says, good evening to the panelists. Good evening to you too. This one reads, good evening, Mr. Liu. Unjuakom Augustine writing from Kenya. When one travels out of Cameroon, you realize that the situation back home is really pathetic and disappointing. That's many people find it so difficult coming back, especially the neglected North and Southwest regions. Your reaction to that, to what Anita said?
100% correct. That's what I've been singing here. Dual nationality will give every Cameroonian out of the country the boldness to come back and invest here, knowing fully whether he will not be considered a stranger in his own country. Number two, most of them who left this country left landed properties that are not too expensive also to acquire in Cameroon, that they can, the exchange rate of what they gather there, if they put it here in business, it's going to multiply. Number two, if they have the opportunity to come back to this country and still have the nationality intact, it will create a lot of employment because everybody will want to come back and invest in their country. Number three, most of the material they need in most of their companies to exploit is in Africa here. No matter what they learn out of the country, if they come back here, the material will be here, and they are not exporting materials there anymore. They are getting it close by, so it will be easier for them to invest. If almost everybody that leaves the university can get a job from a company established by someone who has gathered skills outside and income, because two things are employment and expanding the company. You need skill, you need capital, and that capital is what they go out to look for. If they come here, there will be a boom. You will not need to leave university and start scraping helter-skelter. Every country's strength is tied to the private sector, but Cameroon is the only country I've seen with the weakest private sector. The private sector here is hampered because a lot of policies put in place cannot allow companies to thrive and emerge. They suffocate companies. The next thing is, if there is a reduction in tax, it will give many people the bonus to set up companies. Because sometimes you don't even get the finances of what you are doing. How do you explain that the governor of Calabar State refused the payment of taxes for little businesses? Today you have a kiosk at the roadside. You are doing phone booths. You are doing money transfer. You are paying taxes. Taxes for what? You are selling plantain. They are collecting taxes. When a governor in a state in Nigeria chooses to boycott taxes for all jobs, little petite, you are riding bike here in Bonaberi. Go and see the mayor will send guys to arrest you to pay the tax of 12,000 francs. You buy the cat. How much does a bike rider walk? Now, when those bike guys get frustrated, that's the reason of even use the bike not to even walk in, they use the bike not to steal. Because what they use to work cannot even provide for your family. So I think all these little petty businesses should be given chance to thrive. They suffocate businesses. You go to a place where somebody has a little salon at the roadside, he's not even working 10,000 francs. You are collecting tax from those places. All those things are the things that kill businesses. There will be an economic boom if there's dual nationality and reduction in taxes. Most Nigerians have come back to invest in Nigeria. There is a Nigerian doctor who separated a Siamese twins recently, and there's another one who operated a lady, removed a fetus, put the fetus back in the stomach, and then sewed. That man trained in America. They came and established his hospital in Lagos. Because why? The working condition, the atmosphere, the tax policies, they are not too heavy that can suffocate such businesses. That's why you see most of them study abroad. The highest neurosurgeons in America, medical doctors, and the Ghanaians and Nigerians. But you know, those guys come back in their country. When this man came to power, Nana Akufo-Addo, he launched what they call Return Ghana. Return Ghana means no matter the skill you've acquired out of the country, come back and invest it in Ghana. Do you think that if the conditions that he put in place were not favorable and conducive, do you think we will leave America or Canada to come and invest in Ghana? The best we have is outside there. That's the reason why I said there one time that when we go out of the country, we study, there is this issue that when you write a project, The country which you study, if you are a first class student in that university, they will send you back to a country. For a geologist, you will come and carry a research here very well. They will pay you while you are going to school. The way you go with that report and submit it, they know exactly where raw materials are in your country. Through their ambassador and their businessmen, they will come as if they are coming to carry out charity works in that environment. Now they may see the mayor and say, we will need this piece of land. This piece of land is a report of a Cameroonian that studied in their university and came back here for internship and for research. Now through that, they buy that piece of land for a very expensive amount of money. You may think the land makes no meaning, only for you to realize that they are extracting gold from that same place, because why? A Cameroonian that studied in the university under good condition came back to the country to carry out his research, went back, deposited that research by exposing all the areas in Cameroon where we have mineral resources. That is how they are exploiting us. So if at all we Cameroonians will come and do such research, and we are given the opportunity to establish businesses in the place where we have discovered those treasures, whites will not come here through the ambassadors and begin to explore what is supposed to be benefiting.
Good evening to you, Peprish Futurizi, Kwanda Cletus, Kanga Emil, and to you, Doc Mo, Penades Ndome. Good evening to you, Agu Regel. Now, Nico, you are in the diaspora, Abang. You live in Finland. What specifically would you prescribe to the Cameroon government to reconcile itself with its diaspora? There's no sound. I don't know why. Mr. Abong, can you get me? Hello, Mr. Abong.
Yes, I can get you. Yes, I can.
Okay, you are on.
Get me now.
Okay, I asked the question, what you think specifically should be done by the Cameroon government to reconcile itself with you guys living out there in the diaspora?
First of all, we should understand that just like every other Cameroonian, Cameroonians living out of the country have their own specific grievances. And the government needs to actually look into these specific grievances and not just characterize people as extremists or angry. Secondly, I think that there should be strategies put in place to actually create an environment where those in the diaspora can be part of the development of the country, be it business development, education, development in education, development in health, development in areas. The reason for this is that we always look at diaspora participation in development as Cameroonians coming back home and establishing in Cameroon. A lot of people have their lives that have set up with their families out that they cannot move. However, other countries have realized the importance of knowledge repatriation. So if the government can somehow develop strategies that allow not only for financial repatriation like what we do, not repatriation, but financial transfer to Cameroon, like what we see already is happening, although I can say 99% of that is used for family support, and very just 1% is used for economic development, establishment of businesses. That is something the government needs. How can they encourage Kenyans abroad not only to send money to family support, but how they can take that money and put it in the economic activities of the country. Secondly, there's this issue of knowledge repatriation. How do we ensure that even Cameroonians in the diaspora can also contribute their knowledge to the development of the country? Look at what we have today. We look at the issue of roads. We have very poor roads, and we have this contract given to companies that actually have no accountability. They have no accountability to the local population, and whatever they do, they don't answer to anyone. But we have some of the best engineers. Cameroonians are some of the most highly educated in the world, in the diaspora. If you Europe here, 99% of Cameroonians who have traveled have gone to school. They have gone here, they have studied, they are experts in their areas. They are able to use that knowledge, transfer that knowledge back to the country, and help in the development of that country. But the problem now is the government taking advantage of this. That's why in the beginning, last time I wanted to talk about this issue, what the Rwandans are doing. The Rwandans have a system where every single Rwandan diaspora is involved in the development of the country through their embassies. They organize events, they bring them, discuss issues, they identify experts, and they look at how those experts can be either brought to the country or their knowledge can be repatriated for the development of the country. And those are things that need to be done. We don't need to things we call national dialogue and say this, but I think most of those who from abroad to attend the national dialogue were just opportunists. How many highly skilled experts in the area of health, in the area of education, in the area of information technology were invited to come to the national dialogue and speak? We have a few individuals who will go there and make noise and try to score some political points, and they call it national dialogue. The government needs to create an inclusive strategy that does not only cater for the concerns of the Cameroonians in the diaspora, but puts the Cameroonians in the diaspora at the center of decision making in those areas that develop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, my media prime. I'm Prince K from Kumba. The only way the Cameroonian government can reconcile itself with its diaspora is by them giving up power for a new dynamic team to come in and make the much needed positive change. Good evening to you. Excuse me. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I really appreciate your program. I am sure this program, many of our administration are getting it, because our biggest problem is accepting change. Look at our roads, just like footpaths. Good evening to you too. Good evening. It's Div Bless writing from Bilo. I love the program so much. Courage. Thank you very much. Bless. Good evening, Mr. Liu. It is said that when you start seeing floats, it is a sign that drainage are blocked. This issue of illegal migration and Cameroonians floating out there is because chances of succeeding back home are all blocked by some wicked leaders. The most prominent business today in Cameroon is politics. We need God to help us. Roy is also writing from Bomenda. Good evening to you, Roy. This one says, wow, that is nice and good. I love what that man is saying. He's writing from Kumba. Good evening to you. Mr. Leo, good evening. Please tell me, is there a minister in Cameroon without a dual nationality? Because even the president has got a dual nationality. Thanks. I'm Titi, writing from Tombel. Good evening to you, Titi. Good evening to you all in the studio and listeners. I just bought a Corolla Verso, which will be in Cameroon with a total cost of less than 1.2 million. They are asking me 2.1 millions. 2.2 and 2.3. How can one be encouraged to do business? These are cars that could be sold cheaper if custom was normal, and as such more cars will come in. Many cars will be registered as genuine source of income to state, and jobs will also be created. Marco is writing from Douala here. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu. The system is archaic and fears an innovation that may topple them. Bless is writing from Bomenda. Good evening, sir. I'm called Felix. Students, I'm very happy with the program. I'm very happy with the program, even though so many challenges, especially the issue of taxes in this country and the type of things happening always. Now we have to move on to our second topic. If not, we may not have time to discuss it. After this short break, we discuss it. Welcome back. You're watching Prime Hour on my Media Prime. We are now going to be looking at Africa. Who is spoiling Africa? Is it the Africans themselves or the West? I'll start with you.
I will bring the aspect of the West and the aspect of Africa. Why do I bring the aspect of
The West.
The West first? You realize that it was the West that colonized Britain and France, that colonized America, and later on Britain removed France and colonized America, and they used the policy of divide and rule. But unfortunately, with the case of Africa, the divide and rule that they used was something that Africans, it's difficult for Africans to fight the divide and rule, because we have the Francophonie section, the Francophones, those that are colonized by France, those that were colonized by Britain, those that are colonized by Portugal. So we have this different aspect with different culture, our different perspective, which give way for the West to easily penetrate and come into Africa to exploit what they want to exploit, so they are benefiting for that from that. Secondly, the next aspect also I will talk about the West is that the West know that Africa is the breadbasket of the world. They are very, very well aware of that. So they have two options: either they use leaders to get what they want in the country, and when the leaders are very resistant, they get part of them, colleagues and friends of them, empower them, give them weapons so that they can use that to get through them. Then we also have international organizations still put in place by this same West. We have the Francophonie, we have Commonwealth, we have the United Nations. I still believe that these are mechanisms put by the West to be able to penetrate Africa and exploit what they want. Because, for instance, Africa is not part of the Big Five that control the United Nations. So you realize that in the world, Africa does not really have a say. And when it comes to penetrating into Africa,
so, you are saying that it's the West that is spoiling Africa?
Yes, I really think so. At that perspective, that if Africa, then at the aspect of Africa, which I would like to say there is a problem in Africa, we have this division that is present between the people and their leaders. Now, when a leader comes, because normally the main enemy is the West, we are not debating about it. Most of the problem we have is the West. Now, when a leader is there and he wants to fight the West, he needs the support of his people. If the support of his people are not there, he becomes vulnerable to the West. For instance, I'll give you this example. We saw the good thing that Gaddafi did for the people of Libya, but we saw the influence of the West to get through the West. And we also see the case of Ivory Coast, when Gbagbo came back, realized the price of cocoa, the price of oil, he was fighting through it. What happened? They still have to use part of Ivorian Ouattara to get him out. So that is mostly the strategy that the West used to penetrate Africa.
Professor, you are a Pan-Africanist. You have been talking about this. Who is spoiling Africa?
Mr. Leo, at this particular moment, I will not want to blame the West because we have been blaming them for long. One of the greatest problems of Africans are Africans.
Okay.
Considering the fact that even if we are talking about the West actually intervening in Africa to kill Africans or to do whatever, they still use bad Africans. When Africans open up their arms and permit the West to use them, we should not only blame the West, we should blame ourselves. Because the greatest challenge that we are having is coming from us. If you want to look, let's go down to Burkina Faso. Before Thomas Sankara was killed, it was not a Westerner that came in and killed him. It was Blaise Compaoré. Look round, you discover that even in Libya that he mentioned, it was not the people who actually killed Gaddafi were black people, who in fact were Libyans. So at the end of the day, most of the problems that we do have, we know that there was a colonization that took place. We know that they gave us fake independence, all that we know. But what are we doing in order to change the situation?
To catch up.
To catch up. I want to use a nation like Tanzania, where an individual in 5 years, a leader, took over the helm of the nation and decided to transform his nation. That is one individual in Africa. He dealt with corruption. I wrote something on your Facebook page today concerning how he successfully built that. If you look at it, Mr. Leo, in Africa, like I said, Africa remains a primary creditor to the world. We receive about 50 billion US dollar for aid every year. But how much goes out of Africa as illicit financial flow? Over 89.6 billion dollars. I beg your pardon. Compare that, you discover that there is a big disparity. Money will still remain if we use that money. We make sure we block that money from going out. We will use it to develop Africa. And then at the end of the day, we can still help other nations. But look at it. Somebody like John Pombe Magufuli, when he came in as a president, what did he do? He cut corruption. He dealt with the internal instability. When he cut down corruption, then he said if any European needs to carry any mineral resource out of his country, they should be able to process it in his country. That will mean it will create jobs. It will be able to be used. The finances will be there for the country. And you see, his country left from the bottom and entered the middle economy. But look at it. Most of the countries, we are here in Cameroon, those who are embezzling money are not Europeans, they are Cameroonians. Most of them are corrupt. They make sure that money that is supposed to be used for development is swindled into their personal accounts. And at the end of the day, we want to blame people who are sitting out there in Europe, might be manipulating. Yes, they are doing that. But I think that if things need to change, then we must come back to ourselves.
Okay.
And be able to look down on ourselves. Let's examine ourselves. Are we doing the right things?
Okay, Dr. Dimanchu, where is the problem that the West is spoiling Africa and seemingly Africans are doing so? Is it ignorance? Is it, yes, is it some level of ignorance that we open our doors for people who are spoiling our nations and we are under hit from our respective populations? I'm talking about leaders, because if the West is spoiling Africa, it is doing so in connivance with our leaders, and our population is on our head that please, there is no development, things are not moving well, and is it also used by political parties, this blame game on the West? Is it also used by political parties or leaders, African leaders, to divert attention from their internal failures?
That the West is spoiling Africans, I take that with a pinch of salt.
Okay.
Yes, I take it with a pinch of salt, because there are two factors. We have the exogenous factors and the endogenous factors, you know. And the exogenous factors, yes, touches on the West, on their influence on Africa. But that, to me, you know, it's not very, very important, because when we talk about exogenous factor, we want to start thinking about the scramble for Africa, you know, colonialism, and but we've gone past all that. And Africa has come of age. I mean, many African countries are 50 years into independence. Of course, I know people will talk about the dependency theory, whereby you have a country like France that is on Cameroon, and that if France cannot leave, Cameroon cannot develop more than France. That is actually on the head of Cameroon, who decides what Cameroon does. But of course, that I still don't take it too seriously. But then I would like to look at what touches on Africa and us, because the blame now has to start from us. During the early days, they used to come and take Africans to go and work in plantations abroad. Today, they are coming to take now, they took our, minerals and whatsoever, and that's what we're crying today. But it is not finished in the soil. It is now our individual decision to be able to manage those resources. I know there are some natural conditions that have made Africans to be where they are, but completely, we still say we cannot blame that, like issue of malaria. You know, the African landmass is unfortunate to find itself in the tropics, whereby they are not closer to the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean, and it's giving the mosquitoes, the favorable conditions, and it's breeding out malaria and whatsoever. And you know how much money African nations spend on malaria each day, which of course in Europe we don't have that. But then that is still not a blame that we can be able. Now we look at the issue of corruption that is in Africa, whereby you find this African theory of communalism, where you are somewhere and you want to amass all the wealth, and maybe with your individual families. Yes, how is it that justice for us to think that you can amass wealth and you are actually you have a total disregard. I want to underline this: total disregard for your next neighbor. You go to countries, developed countries in America and Europe, most rich people don't have fences around their houses. But you come to Africa, what fences are much more expensive, and the people are spending on fences more than their individual houses. Why? Because people want to seclude themselves and enjoy their wealth alone. They don't care about the next neighbor. And that is what is happening. The third thing is that we have developed, we have nurtured and matured stronger people in Cameroon than the institutions that are supposed to be strong. In such a way, now we have people who command. We do not have any rule that governs people, because once you are in power, you can break the rule. That framework they call the constitution, it doesn't make anything for you, because you can twist it around as you want, and then you go through. These are some of the things that we are looking at. Now you look at the issue of poverty. I was talking about, people are living in abject poverty, not because they do not know what to do, but because they want to be managers. People have refused to be job creators, and they want to manage. And that is why each person in Africa wants to form an NGO, because he wants money to come for him to manage. They are refusing to work. People have refused to work, but they want to manage money. And this is where the problem is coming from. Everybody wants to sit in an office and be able to command. Let money come in, and then he actually does the way he commands, and then commands people. All people are under him. He wants to be called sir. He wants to be called mister. He wants to be called patron. And that is what is happening. We have refused to be able to have a facelift of our country, our dear country, Africa. And now, what happens is that when the whites come, they use us. The West come, they use us. And then when they see the intelligent people, they take them away, and then they walk abroad. And we continuously remain where we are, because we do not want to develop. And we have decided, I want to say we have decided to remain in poverty, because we do not want to transform our continent, Africa. I think that we should go past all that what has happened in the past and think about the way forward for Africa. That we should be able to train people who are ready to create the jobs, train people who are engineers, train people who are doctors, so that we don't have anything to ask from the West.
Good evening, Mr. Kum. I am enjoying your program. I think that the Cameroon government should reduce their custom duties in order to encourage the diaspora to contribute in nation building. Clover writing from Kumba, Didi Banderas. Good evening to you out there in Kumba too. Good evening, Mr. Leo. My regards to all of you in the studio. I really love your program. Please keep up. I want to believe that one day this country will change. I'm Tumasang Hans, writing from Swabu, in Mancon, that is in Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Leo Gerard, watching from Dubai. Apostle have said it all. Cameroonians are very intelligent, but they can't give what they know to Cameroon due to bad governance and fear to embrace change by old people in government. Mr. Leo, what is killing us in Africa is greed. Remove greed, then Africa will develop. Okay. This one. Good evening to all of you in the studio. I'm enjoying the program, especially when Pastor Ambe is speaking. I pray that God should protect him. And all of you in the studio, Janet is writing from Douala. I pray that God should pass through Pastor Ambe and change this country. He's all around. Okay, Janet, we pray that God answers your prayer. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I am very ashamed of this country. What has wrong with this country? Is it bad luck? Or what is going on, or primitivity? Why do Cameroonians treat us like this? Concerning road, when I was small, armies were constructing roads. What is this demon that cannot fear Papa God? Okay, Ceci is writing from Limburg. Good evening to you, Ceci. Good evening, an interesting program today. I think the government should give a try to those in the diaspora to show their worth in Cameroon. Each time I check, I see doctors, lawyers, business tycoons who are Cameroonians in the diaspora but cannot move into Cameroon because of selfish laws. Okay. Good evening to you too. Good evening, Mr. Kum, and your panelists actually speaking. Okay. Boni is writing from Muya says, let the government not only aim at the level of giving a dual nationality to her citizens, but also put in place incentives to encourage those at home trying to make the country a place to be. I think diaspora will be appeased when their people back home are not more a burden to them. Oui, Monsieur Jean, l'Afrique telle qu'elle est, qui est vraiment en train de la détruire? Est-ce que est-ce que ce sont ceux-là qui sont de l'autre côté ou c'est nous-mêmes?
En fait, répondre à cette question en indexant soit l'Occident ou alors nous-mêmes, ce serait très facile.
Okay.
Il faut faire appel à l'histoire. Et l'histoire de l'Afrique est marquée par une très grande période de colonisation. L'Afrique a été, pour la plupart des pays, ont été colonisés. Et cela a laissé un certain nombre de stigmates. Il y a eu un certain nombre d'accords pré-coloniaux. Il y a eu des accords entre des pays occidentaux et des pays africains, des accords qui sont presque secrets parce que les amis du représentant du RDPC ici ont l'habitude de dire qu'il n'existe aucun accord entre la France et le Cameroun, mais tout le monde sait que c'est faux parce que rien qu'à voir comment est-ce qu'il y a une certaine... On privilégie les entreprises françaises lorsqu'il y a des marchés qui sont ouverts. On a comme l'impression qu'il y a véritablement des accords coloniaux. Et maintenant, il existe ce qu'on appelle la France-Afrique, par exemple. C'est-à-dire que tout un pays qui caporalise tout un continent, la France-Afrique. Ce sont des choses de ce genre qui ramènent un peu les pays africains en arrière et on a l'impression que l'impulsion vient des pays occidentaux. Mis à part la France-Afrique, vous avez des mariages incestueux entre les dirigeants africains et certaines puissances coloniales ou certaines puissance occidentale. Vous vous rendez compte que lorsque un président a déjà fait 30 ans, 35, 38 ans, 40 ans au pouvoir, pour qu'il puisse continuer à avoir une emprise sur son peuple, il est obligé de pactiser avec le diable. Il est obligé d'avoir des acquaintances avec certains pays occidentaux et ça produit ce que ça produit. Et ça donne la force à ces pays-là de s'implanter au Cameroun, en Afrique, précisément au Cameroun, et de faire ce qu'ils veulent. Mis à part cela, vous avez également les limites de l'organisation qui est censée caporaliser tous les pays d'Afrique, c'est-à-dire l'Union africaine. Vous avez une organisation comme l'Union africaine qui n'est pas respectée par tous les pays, par tous les chefs d'État africains. C'est-à-dire qu'il y a certains chefs d'État, même quand cette organisation décide d'avoir un sommet, il y a certains chefs d'État qui refusent carrément de s'y rendre. Bon, mon ami représentant du RDPC ici nous dira que le président Paul Biya ne fait peut-être pas partie de ces chefs d'État-là qui battent souvent en brèche les programmes de l'organisation de l'Union africaine. Mais on a vu plusieurs fois représenté. Mais chaque fois que quelqu'un est représenté dans une organisation où on doit défendre des questions qui touchent principalement aux dirigeants africains, des questions qui touchent à l'organisation des pays en Afrique, est-ce que l'impact de celui qui représente cette personne-là, c'est la même chose si cette personne lui-même était présente pendant les débats? Je ne pense pas. Maintenant, à part cela, il faut questionner également la question des organisations sous-régionales telles que la CEMAC qui votent des résolutions mais qui ne sont pas respectées par des chefs d'État des pays africains. Cela est de nature à fragiliser véritablement la cohésion sociale entre ces pays-là. Et je chute par cette dernière chose, la question de la monnaie. J'ai fait une recherche récemment. Je me suis rendu compte que les 10 pays africains qui ont un taux de croissance élevé, c'est-à-dire un produit intérieur brut élevé, sont des pays qui chacune a sa monnaie. C'est-à-dire que vous pouvez citer le Nigeria, l'Afrique du Sud, vous avez le Kenya, l'Algérie, la Tanzanie, vous avez l'Égypte. Tous ces pays-là sont propriétaires d'une monnaie. Donc, ça veut dire que si vous êtes toujours sous ce qu'on appelle le franc CFA, franc des colonies d'Afrique, vous n'avez pas la possibilité de vous développer en quelque sorte. Donc, il faut donc que les pays africains s'affranchissent de cette monnaie qui continue à les tirer vers le bas. Et nous, au Parti camerounais pour la réconciliation nationale, nous sommes pour la sortie du franc CFA, pour une sortie progressive du franc CFA. Donc, si, pour me résumer, il faudrait donc que je dise que les Africains ont une petite part de responsabilité dans ce qui leur arrive, dans la stagnation qu'il y a en Afrique, mais la plus grande part de responsabilité revient à l'Occident, qui sont beaucoup plus amis avec les décideurs africains, qui continuent à les permettre de rester au pouvoir malgré l'illégitimité qui caractérise leur pouvoir.
This is NK Ramos writing from Equatorial Guinea. I enjoy your program. It is good job you guys are doing. We, the Africans, are the ones holding the rope because most Africans focus their dreams on traveling out of the continent, and when they do, they don't come back home to invest. That's why for 10 years running, Dangote is still the richest man in Africa. Thank you. Thank you too. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and all of you in the studio. I love all your programs. Keep it up. I pray God continues to bless you. It's Junior writing from Limbe. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I love your programs, and this is very pertinent topic to elucidate on. Seriously, the problems of Africans are the Africans themselves. We must first of all examine ourselves very well rather than putting blames on the West. Even though the West can't be left out completely, looking at their various roles they play, which negatively affects the African continent. Barrister Elive is writing from Yaoundé. Foreigners are spoiling Africa. They should leave Africa to rule as they desire because nobody forced the Europeans to choose their forms of government. It's Luis writing from Santa. Good evening to you in the studio. The West is not spoiling Africa. The difference is our leaders love money more than the population, whereas leaders in the West put their populations first. Terence writing from Mutengene. Can we get some sense out of what Terence just said?
Yes, Mr. Leo. This is my quote, and I repeat. Poverty is not the absence of natural resources, financial resources, or human resources. It is the absence of leadership.
Okay.
I'll begin by saying that when greed, tribalism, ethnocracy, and nepotism encapsulate a group of people, no matter how rich they may be, they will never see the future. Africans that have had the heart to push the continent Africa to another dimension have been destroyed by Africans. Most of the fathers of independence had their nations at heart, and if they were given the opportunity to execute what they intended to do, it would have been very possible for Africa to have emerged ere long. I will give you a few analyses that will shock you. A country like Togo got independence from France under the leadership of Sylvanus Olympio. Olympio did not want the France CFA. Olympio created the Togo currency. But a man called Iyadema Nasingbe was used to eliminate, that is a Togolese, used to eliminate a Togolese that has Togo at heart. Iyadema Nasingbe killed Sylvanus Olympio. You go down to Burkina Faso, there is this guy called Maurice Yamiyogo. He was the one that gave them independence. He was annihilated. The person that came later after him, Thomas Sankara, in 1987, he was eliminated by Blaise Compaoré. You come to Central African Republic, there's David Dacko. David Dacko was to change the nation in another dimension, but a man called Bokasawa used to eliminate him. You go down to Congo Brazzaville, there's this guy called Maron Ngwabi. Ngwabi also was eliminated through a coup d'etat. Now, if you go down to Guinea Equatorial here, there was this guy called Masias Ngema. It was his own cousin, Obiangema Basoko, that was used to eliminate him. You go down to Ghana, Osage from Kwame Nkrumah had a good intention for the nation. It was Kotoko, his own clear neighbor, that eliminated him. You go to Nigeria, the guys of Nnamdi Azikiwe, they were eliminated by people close to them. Now, if you put it in a nutshell, you go to Mozambique, Samora Moise Machel, it was his close partner that eliminated him. The West, and I repeat, will never and ever have access to Africa until they use Africans. That's why I say what is eating the bean seed is within the bean seed. Africans are full with greed, full with ethnocracy, tribalism, and nepotism. And if nothing is done, we will keep on killing our best every year.
as I talk to you recently, I would guarantee you all shorty that this guy Magufuli has convinced us against once more that Africa does not need any support out of the country. Lazarus Chakwera, in his 8-minute speech commemorating the death of Magufuli, he said, the unpredictable Magufuli. They did not know that leadership could run in Africa without money being borrowed from International Monetary Fund, because they did not know Magufuli was coming. They did not know that projects could be set up and executed on time, because they did not know Magufuli was coming. They did not know that somebody could not pay attention to General Assembly of the United Nations. They did not know Magufuli was coming. African presidents have given us the impression that you must borrow to succeed. Before Magufuli came to power, most of the mines in Tanzania were privatized. But what he did was that he came back and then sanctioned the foreign companies that were mining in Tanzania until 16% of those particular mines were given back as ownership back to Tanzania. A scenario occurred in Zambia. Zambia is the best producer of copper. You have the copper belt in Zambia. Zambia sold that copper belt to an American firm upfront without payment, that they will exploit the copper and pay them later. American firm came, took that particular copper belt, turned it within 2 years and paid the money upfront, and is giving Zambia a 0.00 something percent as royalty for their mine. Was that colonialism? It is talking about stupidity and poor management. Who brought gun to give that copper belt to America? Nobody brought gun. When last did you see Europeans using prestation, assimilation, or indirect rule in Africa? It's no longer there. Let us consider the fact that they are taking a greater chunk of our resources. The balance we have here is very possible for us to manage those things. How can a man come in 5 years' time without borrowing a dime from International Monetary Fund, a dime from World Bank? He was able to restore 6 aircrafts into the Tanzania airline. He was able to build bridges, build railway, restore back the Julius Nyerere hydroelectricity project that could give Tanzania 99% guarantee of electricity throughout the year without borrowing a dime. China proposed to borrow him 10 billion to reconstruct and expand the port in Dar es Salaam. He refused, yet the port was under extension. Where did he get the money? That's what we are talking about. A man that came and gave free education to all government schools in Tanzania. Mr. Leo, 20,000 ghost workers were discovered. That's where our money is going to. That's not colonialism. He also arrested 14,000 unqualified workers in the government. Those 34,000 persons who were earning salary they did not merit is what was melting down the economy. It was not the colonial master. I think if we go down to most African countries, there are people who are earning salaries that do not exist in the government. Where is colonialism in all these things I have outlined? A man who said that education is free for girls, but the moment you become pregnant, your family will start paying fees. A nice way of fighting moral decadence. Who are we going to blame? Where did he get the money? He came and saw the hospital. President now goes down to the hospital. Beds were scattered, rotting. Patients were sleeping on the floor. He fired the entire medical staff and gave them 1 month to repair all the beds in Tanzania. And suddenly, from nowhere, the beds were repaired in the space of 2 months.
Okay. Let's go over. Mr. Nico Abong, are you there? What is the best way to make sure that the resources of Africa benefits its children, that is Africans? Is there an alternative, that is turn a blind eye to the west and move to the east?
I think the issue, just to answer the question first of all of the problem of Africa, who is to blame? I think Africans are to blame. Not only with how the country is run, but also their willingness to participate in the development of the countries. We complain a lot. I think the thing is that the West has understood very well our weaknesses, and they really know how to exploit those weaknesses to keep on controlling us. And some of those weaknesses are things like over-nationalism, individualism, nepotism, greed, bad government, short-term minded education which is not suitable for our own circumstances, and the issue of aid, not trade. So the world has seen all of these, the West has seen all of this, and they continue to use this to exploit us, and the fault is ours. Let me just give a few examples. Look at the issue of nationalism. Look at the level of African Union. You look at the African Union, which first of all, I don't first agree with what the African Union is, because it all was whole process of first of all, there should have been Africa, the formation of organization for the liberation of Africa, then the organization of African unity before the organization of the African Union, the African Organization for the Liberation of Africa, which would have ensured that every single African country is actually liberated, so that we don't have countries that were totally free, and then some kind of yoke, or also under the yoke of the West, the West still putting its policies. And when they had achieved that, to the process of uniting the country under the definition of African unity, and then going to the African Union, which is like like what we have in the European Union, which is actually an organization of equal states, with thinking the same and not having influence from abroad. So we have this too much nationalism, over nationalism, that every country wants to be independent of the African Union. They cannot even come into consensus on basic issues like free trade to fit African countries. And another one is the issue of governance. Look at the governments which have. Let's take, for example, it's really interesting that you have president who is over 90. The person who is likely to him, if he's not there, is over 90. The third in line is over 90. I mean, you ask yourself, people at that age, what are they thinking about? Do they understand the challenges of today? Do they understand, in this world of technology, fast pace of innovation, can they even be able to, first of all, to even understand it, not to talk about developing strategies that will lead us out of the situation we are now, to come about with, to become at the same level with other countries, to be competitive. See, the issue of governance is, but also you go to individuals. Are Africans ready to do what's necessary in order to take out the governments that are not working for Africans and put in governments that work for them? Are we able to do that? I don't see the willingness and the ability for us to do that. We don't even want to do it. Now, if you look at the issue of education, look at our educational system. It's appalling that we have thousands of unemployed PhD holders. When you see that, you come to understand that our educational system is based on imparting knowledge and functional. The aim of education should be to impart functional skills, create people who have functional skills. And we have a lot of unemployed PhD holders because they have certificates, but they don't have functional skills. They cannot even move out and use those certificates. So you see our education problem. Then you have the issue also of trade, not aid. Mandela said it, when Mandela came to power, he said, we want the West to deal with us on the basis of trade, not aid. But how much money are we borrowing every day? How much money are we borrowing every day for projects that we don't even realize? And look at what Magufuli did. Magufuli did a hell lot. I mean, look at the transformation of the country within a very short period of time without foreign aid. So you see, the problem is Africans. I have a friend here, a French friend who traveled to Africa, and we had this discussion about development of Africa. So China is taking Africa. And he turned around and said that China is taking over Africa because we, the Africans, we have neglected it, moving out of it. So the Chinese are just taking over what we have neglected. Are we willing to step and do what is necessary? We have also this issue of short-term mindedness. We want things today, we want things done now, we want financial success now, we don't want to plan for the long term.
Out of time. We are out of time, eh? Unfortunately, we have to stop there. Very 1 minute. What should be the way forward for Africans to work for Africa?
Firstly, we are to restructure our educational system. Secondly, we are to empower our institutions and make them stronger to live away from thinking about persons but institution. Thirdly, we should try to cut off the umbilical cord of colonialism between our colonial masters and us, the way America did with Britain. Fourthly, the independent rate in Africa, we should cut it down. And lastly, I think if we happen to manage our economic import and export and make them to be balanced, then Africa will be much more better than the West.
Okay, yes, we are.
Yes, Mr. Leo, for Africa to actually step out of this mess, it is necessary that our governments get to start fighting internal problems which begin with greed and corruption. If corruption is dealt with from within, money that is swindled into personal bank accounts could be used for investment purposes. And when that is done, in one way or the other, will be advancing. Secondly, there is need for Africans to understand that this free trade zone that has been created is supposed to help unite Africa. If they take advantage of it, it will help us trade among ourselves.
Okay.
And thirdly, the last position is that we need to come to a place where we have a currency, a unique currency
For
that
Africa.
is supposed to be for Africa as a whole.
Okay.
That will help us trade with Europe equally.
Dr. Dibancho, very briefly, what is the way forward? What's the way out for Africa? Should we stop getting these loans?
Yes, we should stop getting the loans and let us be able to define that dependency theory as prescribed by Frank Gunda, who talked about how underdevelopment developed. We have to get to the root cause. How underdevelopment developed. Let us get back and see what ought to happen. And let us be able to adapt democracy according to our cultures and not according to a borrowed culture. From there, we are going to get somewhere.
Ok.
Yes.
Mais comment on fait pour faire que les Africains travaillent pour les Africains?
Je pense que il est important qu'en Afrique, il y ait ce qu'on appelle l'alternance. Il est important qu'en Afrique, on puisse avoir des nouveaux hommes politiques. Il faut qu'on ait des nouveaux présidents dans les différents pays. Il faut qu'en Afrique, on puisse avoir des élections libres et transparentes. Il faut également qu'en Afrique, l'on puisse avoir des leaders légitimes et charismatiques. Lorsqu'on aura atteint ces objectifs-là, je pense que le développement de l'Afrique viendra d'elle-même.
Okay. Apostle Ambe Valentine Angwa, what's the way out?
I will conclude with this Bob Marley statement in his message. How long shall they kill our prophets? We should change the message. How long shall we kill our prophets? Africans are the one killing their prophets. People have been sent with God with a mandate, unique mandate of leadership to transform this continent. But we have been so bought very cheap to kill our own. We should stop killing our prophets.
Okay, we should stop killing our prophets. Good evening to all the members in the panel. Pastor Ambe, may God bless you for that history, because African presidents think they can develop only by borrowing from the West. Okay. Good evening, members of the panel, and everybody. Good evening to you too. Hi, Mr. Leo, please can I have Apostle's number? I have been pleased to have his number. He always inspires me each time he speaks. Thank you. Gerard is writing from Dubai. Gerard, just write to me after the program. I'll send you Apostle Ambe's number so that you can get to him. This is Mr. Tende from Mendong in Yaoundé. If the government was willing to emerge this country, they could take advantage of the hills and extract raw materials, but instead it's Arab contractors taking advantage. What a disgrace. Okay. Good evening. Prime, I'm Divine in Kumba. What is spoiling Africa and Cameroon is particular is leadership. Leading for 40 years is rather not good. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I agree and support Apostle B. Valentine's point. Once again, Mr. Leo Prince K from Kumba. Bob Marley said, how long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and watch? Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, known but ourselves can free our mind. Okay, thank you for that, repeating what Apostle just said. Good evening, Mr. Kum. It's Bamboo Peter from Ghana Street in Bamenda. Why do I like to copy but the wrong things from the West? How many mandates does our African leaders stay in power? Do they copy from the West? Okay. Good evening to you all in the panel. Liduru from Douala. It has been proven that as a man gets old, his experience sees mental retardation. Then why are such people allowed to rule us for long? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Is Lanzini from Limbe. Africans are spoiling Africans. Okay, I just have to stop there for tonight. I want to thank you all, guys, for coming, and also to you, Mr. Nico, taking part on this edition of the program from out there in Finland. We also want to thank you, Desmond and Eli, and to you, Noel and Bertrand. Thank you to you, David and Bryant, who is supervising our work out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.